Okay, so the important part of this is that, let me grab the spine. I don't know if you can see this. So, can you see that?
Yep.
So what we really want to do, and I'm gonna spin around the other way so I'm the same way. So the iliac crest, and we're working here on the hip and the hip mobility and the hip stability stuff. So the first part of this is we want to work all these muscles that we call lateral rotators, and it's glute medius, piriformis, all these guys, and they all live in this area between the top of the hip bone. And so if I put my hand on the top of my hip, I'm right here. And so we're going to roll from here all the way back to here, which would be here, so almost to the midline. And this whole area, there's a lot of muscle here. And then we could roll all the way to the side, to going lower down. So here's the top of the hip. And then here is this bone we call the greater trochanter, which most of those muscles roll on or insert on. And we don't want to put direct pressure on that greater trochanter. We have to kind of just tread a little lightly in this area. And we can even work to the very front because these glute muscles are even in the front of the body. So that's kind of your basic anatomy kind of review of where we're trying to get. And I think that it's important to understand and actually touch yourself in those places so that you know how far to go, because I don't think that most people appreciate where to roll. And the other thing is that generally 2 layers of clothes, the ball gets all bunched up. So you're better off with just a single layer. So I lift the shirt up, I find that top of my hip bone, that same place, and that's my top border. And so now I can do the rolling, and as opposed to a lot of people roll on the floor, and the problem with the floor rolling is that you don't have as much control and you generally go too deep. So using the wall is way better. And so if I want more pressure, I bring my feet out and I lower myself down on the wall, and that lets me modulate the pressure. And so here I can be pretty precise on where I go in that whole area. And so now I'm going back towards the sacrum, the back part of where we want to go. And then I can come down and I'm still on that iliac crest. And if you look where that is, I really think that no one works high enough up. And you don't want to necessarily do this and mash your spinal muscles. So it's really below that hip bone. And kind of mash, and I can kind of work all the way into that front area. And again, I avoid the greater trochanter and kind of do that. And again, if I feel like I can get a little bit more aggressive, my feet come out a little bit more. And then if I want to, I can do that same thing where I am going to change the position. So I find a spot that feels like it needs a little bit more work, and for me it's about right there. And so then I can pick the leg up and down, I can turn the leg in and out, and that lets me kind of work those tissues with another dynamic. Make sense? Okay. So now, the pigeon stretch. And we can do it a bunch of different ways. And so the safe way is to do it on the floor so that the spine is supported, and I got enough room here, and I come like this. And so now I'm stretching my left butt right now, and so I'm stretching my right butt right now. So if I want to change it, and this is too close, is I can push here, I can lift here without lifting my butt, so just pushing the leg this way, actually rotating the hip bone itself. And that'll let me get to different places in my glutes. And then I can also vary how far out my knee-hip relationship is. And during this whole thing, I'm trying to keep my pelvis nice and straight. And then if we go and we do the traditional pigeon stretch, we go and we start here and we try and come back in that direction. And what I'm trying to do with this hand is if I plant and I push myself back in that direction, it lets me get more stretch for me in that position. And I'm not that flexible. Really flexible people are going to be able to get their butt way back. And what also pushing on the hand does is it helps to stabilize the spine so that I'm not losing the spinal position. I can really get that focus here. And again, I can change where my leg is in position. All make sense?
Totally.